The stage is set for the upcoming spectrum auction. 7 telecom companies will be bidding for spectrum. Companies, we learn, reportedly have deposited over 14,500 crore rupees as earnest money. This is lower than the 20,000 odd crores that we saw being deposited as earnest money in 2015 when the auctions had taken place. Now, experts say earnest money is roughly 10 to 12% of the total amount companies shell out at an auction. Reliance Jio is reportedly leading that list with 6,500 crores, followed by Vodafone, Idea and Airtel. Tata Tele and Reliance Communication and Aircel together have put in about 400 crore rupees as earnest money. Joining us now on the phone line is former Airtel CEO Sanjay Kapoor. Sanjay, I want to at the outset clarify that there is no official confirmation from the Department of Telecom on these numbers, but on the back of what I've just read out to you, what does this tell you about the appetite and the enthusiasm for the upcoming auction?
Shireen, I don't think these numbers in isolation reveal a lot. However, given the numbers that you put, I think it's very evident that there aren't too many takers for 700 megahertz of spectrum, which is probably the most potent spectrum. And other than Reliance Jio, nobody has put in enough money to bid a pan-India, spectrum for 700. To buy selective spectrum for 700 doesn't make sense because that ecosystem is not right. And if you were to win 5 or 6 circles, which were cheap, then to develop an ecosystem around that of devices, content, several other things is not going to be easy. So I think very clearly, I think a pass is being given to 700 megahertz here, and Reliance could be the only surprise. Other than that, I think it is pretty evident. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sanjay.
Yeah, it is pretty evident that unlike the previous auctions, this is probably the first auction where enough spectrum is being put on the table and there is no artificial scarcity of spectrum that is being created. And therefore, the earnest money being put on the table can be conservative because I think almost all bidders will get the sort of spectrum that they want to garner during this spectrum auction. So I think the monies in terms of the earnest money are enough to get what operators want. It's also pretty evident that both Vodafone and Idea are going to be bidding for the 4G spectrum. And that's why they've put in the earnest money that they've put in. And bulk of the auction should not go much beyond the caps that, DOT has put on the pricing, I think because enough spectrum is available. It is also telling you that Reliance, Arcom and Aircel after their merger are essentially going to rely on spectrum sharing with Jio, and whatever spectrum they have, they aren't going to be bidding for anything extraordinary. And therefore, I think their transformation from voice to data will always remain a question mark, even post their merger. As far as Tata's is concerned, I think they're just going to secure their Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh spectrum, which is due for renewal in 2017. And clearly, Uninor or Telenor seems to be exiting this market because they are not even in contention. So I think that's how it stands, that these auctions will probably give whatever everybody wants. The prices won't be much beyond the caps that have been set up initially, which is the reserve price. And very clearly, 700 is being given a pass. So I think that's where, I read the situation as of now based on the information that you've shared.
Okay, and because it's very preliminary information that we have, we will leave this conversation here. But Sanjay, as always, thanks very much for joining us and explaining to our viewers what the importance of the earnest money that's been deposited by telecom companies means for the upcoming spectrum auction. But let's